Hello everyone, we are halfway through the football season, so you know what that means, it's time for another Supporters Discuss. This is the, I wouldn't say like biannual or whatever it is, but it's one of those series that will come up every now and then where we gather together a couple of supporters from the Preston North End social media space, whether it be Twitter or whatever, mainly Twitter, and we ask them for their opinions on the season so far and other matters of the club. Last season we did one of these midway through, and we also did another one a few weeks later regarding Ryan Lowe and whether or not you still back him. And at the time, the result of that question was mixed, and I figured it would be a good idea to throw that question into the mix again this time, just so we don't have to do it on two separate occasions. Now then, I'm going to let the supporters give you their voice before I give you my voice at the end, so I can provide my opinion on the matter as well. But before we begin, I'd like to give a special shout out to everybody that got involved with this, everyone that showed interest in this project. It's always a fun one to do. Whether or not the interest sways between an episode, it doesn't bother me in the slightest, because at the end of the day, these are still people that want to get their voice out there on a platform that may get seen. At the end of the day, we're all a small community, the Preston North End, social community. And all I want to do is try and get as many opinions out there as possible, because there's only so much reach Twitter will have, and of course there's only so much reach I will have as well. But the more platforms of discussion, the merrier. So please listen to what these guys have to say, because they're all passionate North Enders, and I do believe everyone's opinion is valid.
First of all, thank you so much for having me back on your channel again for the mid-season review. To start it off, would I view the season as a success? No. Absolutely not. The problem is that we haven't built on where we were last season. Last season we were mid-table, we were pushing for the playoffs at the time, only to fall away at the last hurdle. Having not built on that at this point in the season is not ideal, especially considering the form that we've been in. The fact that we were top for a couple of games, and then we've just gone and fucked it up. At that point, the fact that we are where we are now compared to where we were a few months back, as most people have said, it's a free fall and it's not a good thing. Standout players so far? Good question. I think it's got to be Miller, isn't it? Realistically. Liam's been a revelation for us. We get him on the ball, he just loves to run at players, doesn't he? He's the one player that loves to turn and just go, which I think is brilliant. Because even now, when we're shit, he's still having good games. So, I think he has to be the standout. That said, some praise does have to go to Brownie, because he has been absolutely outstanding in the middle of the park. And a lot of people are going to say I'm not great for this one, but certainly not recently he's not been great. But Lindsay, there was a string of games where he was just everywhere. So they're probably the ones I'd go with. Business that needs to be done in January. I think the basic thing in terms of business in January has to be defenders. We're overstocked in the midfield and we're overstocked on strikers, but we're falling massively short on defenders. What mows out, and that leaves us with Cunningham and Best as potential centre-back options, which I don't think is the best way to go at the moment. We lost DRB to, we lost Bambo earlier in the season. I do think that unfortunately it's the defenders. We need to be bringing in somebody with experience. Even if they're 34 or whatever, we need somebody in with experience who can give them a boot up the arse. That for me is the only thing. Maybe somebody on that right wing as well. I know Ramsey's there to do a job, but he hasn't been doing it because Lowe just doesn't play him for whatever reason. But we need to be getting more service into Osmajic and into Ched and into Emil. Now he's back, and Kino as well, because everybody's been talking about how bad Millie's been and the actual goals that he scored, but when you actually look at the service he's had, you have to wonder if that's really his fault. Although admittedly Millie does need to let stay on side. My optimism for the rest of this season, I don't know. In all honesty, I'm really not sure, because is this a Ryan Lowe issue, or is this a time of the year issue? Because, like it or not, The regular thing for us is to falter over the festive period. We always struggle between kind of December and kind of middle of January. So are we going to see a change in fortune? I'm not sure. You know, I don't know. I don't know if it's just the fact that Lowe is crap or that it's just a thing with this club. Ryan Lowe, topic of many a conversation in recent weeks, isn't he? For obvious reasons. The short answer to your question, of whether I still back him, is no. Even if we start winning, I'm not going to back him. The reason being is just purely for what he said to the fans, for what he said in recent weeks about the fans, and their growing frustration. That to me is a killer. You know, as I'm sure it is to a lot of people. For me, even when we start winning again, I don't want him. Because, in all honesty, like I say, what he said about us needing coaching badges to have an opinion, or you know, Chelsea doesn't matter, all this, it's insulting. And I just don't think, if you're going to insult your fan base, no matter what, you will never have my backing after that, because you're pissing off your customers, you're pissing off the main people associated with the club, because we aren't going to go anywhere. It'll be gone. Rizdale will fuck off at some point. So will Hemmings. We'll still be around because Preston is our club. So the moment you start pissing them off, you lose it for me completely and utterly, and there's no coming back from it, unfortunately. That's just the reality.
Preston not this season's been very weird. Obviously, we started the season with flying, first in the league until after Stoke or Rotherham at home, Rotherham away. It might have been less that talk without was up about. The one consistent thing with North End, at least up until very recently, was a very big dip in form. Is we could play well for one half, like Plymouth at home, Sunderland at home, and Stoke away. Like, there was clear moments in them games where we played very well, but it wasn't a consistent game. I think the only consistent game we've had really was Huddersfield away, and even then, that was the first 5 minutes of the second half we weren't well, and no discredit to Huddersfield, it looks like it's starting to turn around and get some form. In that game it was poor from them. I'm not sure why, obviously. I know they're at the bottom of the table, in the bottom of the relegation battle, but it was a very poor outing from Huddersfield in that game, so I didn't want to run away with it when we won. On what the team needs in transfers and stuff, first of all, we need to tie one of either Brown or Whiteman down. We can't let them both leave the club, or three especially. If I had to pick, I'd keep Brown, just because he's the captain. He's been there for a long enough time, and especially with the fans, especially wanting Lowe to go, you need some stability in the club. And I know he's not part of the coaching staff or anything, but to get rid of your captain that's been there for 10 years at the club for 10 years, familiar face, like keep the club afloat for a little bit longer whilst search for a new manager might go on. If I had to pick a player though, it would be someone in like wing back, but again that fits the Lowe's system. We don't know what's happened with Ramsey. It doesn't help that Lowe says he's going to come back and not feel with injuries anymore. Because he did it with Reece, where Reece was coming back, he'll be in the reserve games, and then he never turned up. And it's one of them where there needs to be questions of why these things are being said and why so many players injured. Like what's wrong with fitness, or what is happening with Ramsey. The one transfer I wanted, we can't do now. I've always wanted us to go for Iverson, and more so towards the end of last season. Not because Woodman is a bad keeper, I think he's a great keeper. He's good enough. However, no disrespect to Cornell, I've only seen him in the odd game. I don't think he puts enough pressure on Woodman to really threaten his place. And I felt sorry for Cornell during the Swansea game away, where Lowe obviously put out a really weird starting 11, and a lot of the backlash was directed at Cornell. Like, he's done great for the club in like the community. Also he did the rainbow, not rainbow, the sunflower lanyard. That was great for the club, making invisible disability is visible. But yeah, it's weird. One transfer I'd want, I don't know if we could do because I don't know how long Lowe's got on low. It's weird. I don't like most of his comments as of late. I don't like how he dismissed Chelsea. I don't like how he's dismissed the fans. And I don't like how he threw Mads under the bus after Sunderland. But he wouldn't, speak ill of the team. I said on Twitter not long ago that I think the players are pissed off. I think they're pissed off with the fact that the minute something goes wrong, it's their fault. They didn't follow all the amazing game plan. But when it goes right, first person the fan sees Low, like lapping it up, and then he does the fist bump. Personally, I don't want to see the fist bump. When he did it at Huddersfield, I wasn't too happy about it. One of them where we'd just been on a poor run. Huddersfield, again, poor team at the time, and it wasn't something to. Obviously, we'd be happy that we won. I'm not saying, oh no, we shouldn't celebrate, but at the same time, we shouldn't be like treating it like a major win. I get the idea might have been to catapult us onto a decent run, but I didn't see enough from the team to see that. Yeah, I just want to see it changing the game plan. If we don't change us from low, which I don't think we will, because I don't think the club's got the money, which is a shame, I think. Not because I want Love out, just because if it does go wrong this season, which it could very well do after the run of form we've had, what do we do? I think we'll be fine. I think there is 3 worse teams than us. However, I feel like the bottom 3, besides Rotherham unfortunately, are going to slowly start climbing. Sheffield Wednesday are showing to have form, QPR are showing to have form, and I think Huddersfield are starting to go there, and obviously Stoke have just got Blue's right hand man from Plymouth. So I feel like it's going to be an interesting bottom half of the table, especially with Blackburn having there as well. I think they're going to be in and about the relegation battle. But the season, we're only halfway through. It'll be interesting to see what happens, especially after the January transfer window. If we don't sell anyone or we don't sign anyone, I'll be very concerned. But just got to trust that the club do the right thing and it goes right.
We're just over the halfway point of the season, so here are my thoughts on the season so far. Has it been a success? I would say it's been yet another wasted season. It has been successful in terms of we're not in a relegation fight and we can give it another go next season, but overall it hasn't been great, which it is a shame given the start of the season we did have. But now we've ended up with more defeats than we have victories, and it is a shame. The standout players for me so far, if you asked me this at the beginning of the season, I would have named the entire squad. But now there's only 2 names that stand out for me, and we can probably all guess one of them. Liam Miller on the left wing. He's been absolutely outstanding for us this season, and hopefully we can sign him on a permanent deal sooner rather than later. And the second one for me, bit hit and miss with the fans, but it is our captain Alan Brown. For me, they're the only 2 players that you can see are putting in the effort at the moment. So what business needs to be done during the rest of the January transfer window? I would say it's the same that we've been waiting for the last couple of windows. We don't have enough cover in those wing-back areas, which you'd think, given that is Ryan Lowe's system, those positions are vital for him and his formation to work, but for some reason we haven't gone out and got any on a permanent deal. And the first one for me is hopefully trying to make Liam Miller a permanent signing. Whether or not it's going to cost too much, probably, but just with what he's done this season, hopefully we can spend a bit of cash on him and make it a permanent deal. Am I optimistic on the season ahead? No, not for me. For me, it's, as I said, it feels like another wasted season. It feels like the season's over for me, unless we can string another 6 wins on the bounce together and somehow make a late push on those playoff spots. It is over for me. During the first 3 international breaks of the season, we were in the top 6, first, third and fifth. I think we were on the 3 separate occasions, but reality has just caught up to us. Lowe has been in charge for just over 2 years now, and he's had sticky patches along the way. Last season, he had quite a bit of a a struggling spell where he eventually overcame it. I was one that supported him from the start and backed him through the tougher spells. There were various factors behind that last season, but now you just can't accept what's happening. The football has been absolutely dire. The run of form that we've been on, the amount of games we've played without a win, it's just no good. There has been loads of moments where we should have had penalties given, red cards shown that have been confirmed by the league after the game that should have been shown, but the officiating in this league is just for another video completely. But it's no excuse for why we still can't finish the game off, but it is nice when you have decisions go your way. You need that sometimes, because those decisions do play a massive factor in changing results in games. There has also been a few individual errors that have cost us the game. Robbie Brady against Cardiff and picking up that red card, and Ali McCann against the other Welsh side in Swansea giving the ball away right at the end of that game. But at the end of the day, you can always have a quick glance at the league table, see that we're 5 points off the playoffs, and pretend that everything's fine and will be okay. Which, don't get me wrong, it is a really good position to be in, especially for us. But if you have a look deeper into it, see in our last 19 matches, we've only won 5. We're just going to continue to slip further down the table. This was probably our best start to a season in years, and Ryan Lowe got us here, but you need to start taking things seriously now. The club wants to have a proper good go at those playoffs, so you need to wave bye-bye to him, thank him for his effort, because it's just getting really bad now. The team hasn't offered anything for a single fan to get excited about. The atmosphere is non-existent at the club, and it just feels like everything has gone stale and past its sell-by date. If you have a look at Sunderland, the position that they were in, I thought they were actually having a really good season. Then all of a sudden, they sacked Tony Mowbray, and that's because they actually want to have a real good go at finishing in those playoff spots. And I didn't even think his tactics were that bad compared to Lowe's, but yet they still get rid of him, even though results and their performances, they were miles better than ours compared to the snooze fest that we get with Ryan Lowe. I just wanted to point out this horrendous stat that probably many of you will already know, but we have conceded 44 goals in 26 games. That's third worst in the league. Not even Sheffield Wednesday or Queen's Park Rangers have conceded that many. We can't keep on settling for being a mid-table club. I want to see an exciting change. If the football doesn't freshen up and things don't start to change, he's gone. He's just 100% gone. Seeing the reactions on social media, which I know can get a bit negative after a defeat, especially when you've been on a run like we have. But we've just lost interest at this point. All we want to see is some exciting football and players giving it their all and putting effort in. Against Sheffield Wednesday, we didn't create anything. We just tried the same thing that didn't work over and over again. Against Sunderland, we didn't have the belief. Sunderland in that second half didn't have a single shot on target, and we didn't put them under a single bit of pressure. That must have been Sunderland's most easiest half of football they have ever played. He's lost the supporters. There's question marks whether or not he's lost the dressing room, and for me, it's time for him to be shown the door.
So, has the season been a success? Nope. Although we started the season well, we've tailed off massively. Really disappointing around Christmas time besides the Leeds result. The standout player for me this season, Liam Lindsay. He needs pace around him, obviously, but I think he's done really well. Alan Brown's massively improved from last season. Although I don't really think he should be offered a new contract, he's been one of our standout players this season. In January, probably sign another winger. On the other side, to Liam Miller, a right wing back to challenge Potts if Ramsey's gone back to Liverpool. Maybe another centre half with a bit of pace as well. Watmore's not really done it for me this season. Story and Lindsay, I think, are okay at Championship level. I think if we finish above 16th in this season, we've done really well. Playoffs are not a chance have we got with the manager in charge. And do I still back Ryan Lowe? No, I think he's a lot of hot air. I think we should let him go at the end of the season. I think tactically, I don't think he's good enough at this level. We see lots of teams change. I think Sunderland, we saw them getting absolutely battered by Newcastle, and I think that was a game where for the first 15 minutes we're on top, but it just doesn't change anything. It seems to be the same old 3-5-2 or a sort of a 4-3-3, but with the shape of a 5 at the back every time. We don't have any style of play. Look at all the teams in the Championship, even Tony Mowbray when he goes in at Birmingham now, you'll see patterns of play. But with Ryan Lowe, we just don't have anything. There's no getting the ball down on the floor. I wouldn't mind if it was like a Sam Allardyce sort of style of football. At least we know what we're sort of playing with. We just seem to have no shape, no identity. I don't know what team it's going to be from week to week. He's been here now for over 16, 18 months and he doesn't know his best 11. He was better off when he had the kids on the bench. Kieran Best had a fantastic start to the season. He's gone quiet. Frockier, I don't know what's going on there as well. I think he's a very, very good player, but we just don't play him, doesn't trust him. I mean, Ben Whiteman's clearly leaving it into the season. He's played him every week. I mean, I don't get that at all. Why Ben Woodburn was given another contract is completely beyond me. Freddie Woodman, when he has a dip in form, has been pied off as well. So, yeah, do not back him at all.
Similar to last time, we have some supporters that shared their views through message instead of video or audio, and I will read them out to you now. Starting off with this one. Would I say this season has been a success? Not really. We had an incredible, successful start to the season, obviously being top of the league, going into the international break, and it felt perfect, and then it didn't. I think there's a numerous amount of reasons as to why that has happened, but I think that one of the main reasons is that the fixtures kind of set us up for a disaster, with an incredibly tricky run of fixtures in October, but I do think we got very lucky to be able to get the early results. Standout players so far, I can't say that there are many options, as whilst we had an amazing start, some players just ended up massively dropping off. Although despite that, I think Brown and Potts have stepped up their game massively this season, with Kieran Best also becoming a huge surprise. In terms of January, if we do any business, it should be in our defence, specifically in the left-back role if Law wants to play a 4-5-1. That's of course if Law makes it through January, because we've looked incredibly weak off the left. I do think that was very apparent in the game against Chelsea, not the fairest of competition. In terms of optimism, I've never been too optimistic as it is Preston. However, I do believe that with this squad we can salvage a potential push for the playoffs. Am I backing Ryan Law? No, but Law hasn't really helped himself with this statement that has ended up provoking the fans. Whilst I don't know who we can get in instead of him, I just think it's wise to get him gone whilst we can, as I do believe that not taking the opportunity is going to hurt us. Would you say the season was a success? Mixed emotions really. Up until Rotherham at the end of September, we started really well and enjoyed our spell at the top of the league. We faced tough opposition and, as expected, results subsided, but since then, despite wins against Coventry, Blackburn, Huddersfield and Leeds, we have lacked consistency, which is why people are becoming concerned. However, overall, we are achieving what we should be on paper, but it's that forever growing hope whereby you want to do better and become ambitious, and one day we will hopefully get there. Standout players so far. Alan Brown and Brad Potts are two players I adore for always giving it everything, and you can tell results mean as much to them as they do to us. In terms of standouts, Liam Miller, Milutin Osmajic and Dwayne Holmes have brought us new dimensions and sparks of creativity which I think we have been starved of in recent years, and that aided the good form at the start of the season and has clearly boosted the mood in the dressing room. Will Keane is another that's up there, but he's been hampered by injury and COVID, which has just stopped his goals coming in as late. What business needs to be done in January? Defence without a doubt. I feel attackingly and midfield we have a good variety of players, however I still think wing-back and centre-back needs one, a leader, and two, someone that can bring some pace and quality to steady the ship. However, it has been noted that players like Ben Whiteman may leave in the summer, and this is something the club should look at in terms of possible replacements in the event he doesn't sign a new deal. Are you optimistic for the rest of the season? Well, it's the hope that kills you, isn't it? I'll always back the players whoever puts on that shirt we all adore, but at the minute consistency is an issue and you never know when the next time will be that we start to pick up points, which is always a worry. I don't see us entering a relegation battle if form doesn't improve at the minute, but it's the Championship and it can change like that. As long as we pick up points when we can, it will all be fine, and you never know what can happen. It's just important we all stick behind the players no matter what. Do you still back Ryan Law? I don't personally like some of the things he says in the media, and some of it has been quite interesting to us as a fan base. However, we have to trust Craig Hemmings in making the right decisions for the club and support us whether we like the manager or not. Still back the players because you can still do that even if you want Ryan Law to go. However, under Ryan Law, consistency has lacked. When we lose, capitulate. What the hell does that mean? Capitulate. How do you say it?
Capitulate.
Got you. Cool. Thanks, Google. However, under Ryan Law, consistency has lacked. When we lose, we capitulate and lose by 3 to 4 goals, and we only seem to have one dimension of playing which rarely play to all our squad's strength, which for me puts his position under scrutiny, particularly with his recent form. However, as I said, it's the hope that kills you, and hopefully as our fans' driving ambition of reaching the Premier League will happen one day, because we just can't help falling in love with the mighty North End. Alright, lovely stuff. Thank you everybody that got involved once again. All of the relevant socials that they wanted included will be, of course, was included in the sections, whether that be the Twitters or Instagrams, Snapchats, TikToks, whatever they may provide me. Of course, this is being recorded in advance from what they're going to give me, so, I can't really work off it, but yeah, so that's their opinion. Of course, might be some controversial ones in there, but that's down for you to decipher. We've all got our own opinions, and that's the wonderful thing about this. So, what are my opinions? Of course, I've been very vocal throughout the season on Twitter and on YouTube. It got to one point where I was strictly low out, and it got to one point where I thought it was ridiculous and everything was getting too toxic to carry on and all this blah blah blah. But yeah, let's take a look at the questions I provided them, and I'll answer them myself. The season so far, has it been a success? To be fair, I don't really think it's been a massive success, simply because even though we started out on the incredible run at the start of the season, being top of the table for a couple of short weeks and whatnot, the season as a whole, it hasn't really gone anywhere. We're a miracle. It was a miracle that we stayed as high up the table as we did for as long as we did, because we've been out of form now since October, November, give or take. Not long, like Blackburn away was our last decent victory. Because we'll get a victory here and there and a draw here and there, but in our last 5 games of this recording, which is pre-Bristol, we've had 1 win in 5, and the other 4 have been losses. So it's not great by any account. So, and obviously the performances are wavering massively. So yeah, I don't think up to now, even though it started promising, I don't think it's been successful. Our standout player, for me personally, last season it was Freddie Woodman. This time it's not. I think Woodman's, he's going through a spell. Every player has one, but right now it's Freddie's spell, and it's a bad time to get it. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. For me, so far, our standout consistent performer is between Alan Brown and Brad Potts for me personally. But then again, Liam Miller will take that spot. Of course, that is 3 names, not 2, like I just said. However, Brownie and Potts are our player. Miller's not. Miller has been a fantastic inclusion to the squad on that side. He's fast, he's furious, he takes people on, he scores goals. He's got the technical ability that a lot of these players don't have, as well as the pace. But, of course, we're going to lose him in the summer. If he wants to stay, that's fine. But can I see him wanting to stay? Not really. It's a shame we're going to lose such a talent if these things carry on, but it is what it is. However, with Brown and Potts, Brown this season has gone through a bit of a resurgence where he didn't have it for the last 3 years playing alongside DJ. People have been quick to blame Johnson and whatnot, and now Stork want him gone, but I'm not going to be one that slanders Johnson for the sake of it, because Johnson was a good player for what it's worth, and he served his time with the club. He was a loyal servant. But Brown, in the last couple of years, has felt limited to what he could produce almost 10 years ago. So let's say 7 years ago, which is when I thought he had his best years. Nowadays, I think Brown, on the performance-wise, he's one of those leaders on the pitch now. His captain role, he's absolutely undertaken that fantastically. He's become a really good captain in that dressing room, whether it's a silent leader or provocative one, whatever it may be. You can tell there's a lot of respect for Alan on the pitch and in the dressing room. His performance on the pitch has gotten far better. He does a lot more running, plays the intelligent passes. He's versatile on the pitch, which is what we've been working towards for the last 2 years, and he's now netting goals again. So yeah, very happy to see Brown back in form. Potts is probably one of the best right wing backs in the division, in my opinion. Not only is he fast, he's got that strength to him. He's got that winner's mentality, just similar to what Alan Brown has. Potts to me is Brown, but as the right-sided player, not the midfielder. Whereas Brown obviously can be a right-sided player. He feels best as a number 10 for me personally. But yeah, no, I think both of them have just been electric this season. But even though Liam Miller's better than them both, considering he's not our player, and I don't expect him to return, that's the only reason I want to exclude him from that conversation. No disrespect to him, he's fantastic in everything he does, but Brown and Potts, they're our players, and that's why I want to give them more of a shine, because Liam Miller gets it everywhere. Business that needs to be done in January. Well, as far as I've heard recently, there's no options being explored for Bauer to leave, and Calvin Ramsey might get recalled because of Alexander Arnold's current injury as of this recording. And that's concerning, because Ryan Lowe believes McCann and Brown can fill in for Ramsey, whereas Potts was also the fill-in for Ramsey. So Ramsey was never going to get minutes to begin with, by the sounds of it. But he was from what we could have potentially seen, there's potential in that lad. So that's a shame. Do we need more left-sided options? I do believe so, because there's only so far Lee Miller will take us, because Robbie Brady's not going to make the cut, unfortunately. The midfield is better than it was, yes, but then I'd like to see more attacking prowess. And even though we have 4 strikers at the club currently that are fit to play, with that being Ched, Reese, Keane, and Osmajic, there's also Leighton Stewart sitting there getting splinters. And even though we have these 4 strikers, I don't think any of them are clinical enough to do what we need to do. And that's why recent links with Dion Charles have sounded promising. I'm not allowed to say anything about that, but just all I'll say is wink. Obviously, just take it with a grain of salt, though. But yeah, no, I do think we could do with a forward player, whether it be a 10 or a striker, I don't know, but we need somebody like that. And just general defensive options need to be explored. People are saying we needed a keeper, and that's where Everson probably could have, filled those shoes, because James has gone back to Bamber Bridge. Lewis Lee has recently gone to I think it's Crewe. But of course they're just youth setups, and it's just getting these lads some minutes so they can burst into the scene. But yeah, just it's I don't know, because people say the business that needs to be done is sack the manager, get a new one, but we can't afford to do that. So if anything, I do believe that the most important bit of business we can do is to just get a more attacking focused mindset of a player in there and get it going again, because when we had the attacking mindset and we didn't have that negative approach of don't concede, we always concede. So, goals win games, as Ryan Lowe said 2 years ago, and the whole gung-ho approach and whatnot. Everyone's quick to point that out to him, yeah, but with all due respect, I do believe that we don't currently have a system in play to be doing things like that. As much as it's a long-term project, Ryan Lowe is, yes, we need it sorted and fast. So every little helps at this moment in time. Am I optimistic for the rest of the season? No. If you asked me this question a couple of weeks ago, I would have said yes. But based on the recent run of form over the last, month or two, it's just... I don't know. Things can get back on track. Last season proved that. Christmas time is normally the bad spell for Preston. But at the start of the season, when we proved what we could do and what we were about, that's when I felt optimistic. Whereas now, when we're going through what we're going through, and there doesn't seem to be much intent to get things sorted and back on track, that's when it gets nervy for me. And that's why it is nervy for me and many others. And, the current social space is very toxic. People want the manager gone, people want this to happen, people want that to happen. We're not the judge of it, unfortunately, so there's nothing we can do about it. But at the same time, it's one of those ones where if things do get back on track like they did last year, it can, business can resume. We finished close to the playoffs last season. Of course, 13th doesn't look promising, but when you look at the points and whatnot, it was close. We are still in touching distance, but if we don't start winning games soon, that touching distance will become a mountain to climb and eventually will become a slope. So that needs to be fixed and fast, as we've all said over the last couple of weeks. So there is a chance we can rescue the season, but I ultimately believe we're going to be finishing where we always finish yet again because of this bad spell we've had. If we can eliminate the bad spell at Christmas, we'll get places. And the only problem is, with our current mentality and our minor flaws, like I pointed out in the Chelsea video, it's just not going to take us anywhere. So as it stands, I'm not optimistic, and I'm just waiting for the season to be over so we can get a fresh start in the summer. But like I said, TC nearly rescued our season last year and other signings, but we'll see. And do I still back Ryan Lowe? No. I'm going to answer this question straight away. I don't. As much as I liked him as a character, I thought he was a great character. In recent times, when he's been rattled even more, and he's breaking down, the guy's a broken man right now, and his attitude towards our situation, the fans, and other things like that, it's disgusting to hear sometimes. Of course, he'll always come back the next interview and defend himself, but I think we all know what he meant and what he was getting across. But yeah, I wouldn't say, everyone always calls him a fraud, he's this, he's that. I wouldn't say he's a fraud. We've seen what he's capable of. The only problem is, he isn't quick to acknowledge his failures, and when he can't acknowledge his failures, they normally lead to even more failures. Wigan last year was, like Wigan at home, seemed to be the game where he realised what was going wrong against a poor side. I thought Huddersfield away this season would have been that same realisation where, if we just do this, we can win games. But it seems to have gone out the window as quickly as it came through, so it might judge. Obviously, this weekend was going to be a big one for the club because, this Bristol at home, it's a fixture. Bristol's always sort of our bogey. It's not a bogey team, but it's one of those teams where we're like, yeah, it's an iffy team. One that we don't often produce a great result against. So, yeah, it's going to be a big weekend to see where we can get, and it's not going to be the result for me that matters. It's going to be how we perform, because Bristol, in my opinion, I saw this on opening day, they don't seem like a fantastic side by any means necessary. They're just a slap-bang average championship side, and the away performances, in my view, are worse than their home performances. We got a draw with them at home. Can we pick up a win at our home? Maybe, but obviously the weekend will tell. But as far as that goes, that's just my opinion on Ryan Lowe. He's got flaws characteristically and managerially that drag him down majorly. So as soon as he can wipe the floor with them, the sooner we can get back on track. But based on the way he perceives things, I don't think that's happening. So that is they are my thoughts. Of course, feel free to join in the discussion in the comments or on Twitter. We always like to have these conversations, and that's why we do this series. This is why we do this video. We all love to share our opinion, and we love to get it out there. We love to be the voice of the community, and there's plenty of outreaches for that. There's this channel, there's the Butter Pie podcast, there's From the Finney. There's loads and loads of ways Preston fans reach each other, and even reach the club sometimes. Of course, this is a platform that's slowly building, and if we can eventually get it into something similar to From the Finney and Butter Pie podcast, where we have these connections and we can have something special going on, you know, I do believe there's a bright future for the Preston social scene. But before we can worry about fixing the social scene, we need to worry about fixing the football scene and where it's going to take us, because in due time we'll be in a relegation battle. So yeah, they are the opinions of a couple of lovely supporters that decided to join us. Thank you once more, and I would like to hear more supporters' views in the comments. Twitter, you know it, I've just said it. I'm shit at sign-offs, so I'll sign off now before it gets any worse. Thank you for watching, and hopefully the season gets back on track. Otherwise, we're pretty fucked.